It was just past 8:45 a.m., and my Monday was already spiraling into chaos. I'd said goodbye to my wife, Vanessa, earlier that morning. We'd been together for 15 years. She's a top-tier real estate agent, always closing massive deals and raking in bonuses. She wore that success like armor. "Have a good day," she chirped in that overly rehearsed, sugary sweet realtor tone. The same voice she knew I hated. She gave me this smug little smile, like she was hiding something. I brushed it off, already preoccupied with the mountain of reports I had due by month's end. At the office, I arrived at my usual 7:45 a.m., dropped my briefcase at my desk, and made a quick detour to the break room for coffee. That's when everything went sideways. I was suddenly hit with this sharp, burning pain that made me double over. I let out a loud, startled shout, not out of choice, but instinct. The discomfort was unbearable. Mr. Brooks, my boss, came rushing in, visibly concerned. "Ethan, what's going on?" I tried to explain the pain and pointed to the bathroom. That's when we both noticed something disturbing, a greenish discharge. My heart sank. Mr. Brooks looked serious now. "You need to get to a doctor. Right now," he said, putting a firm hand on my shoulder. "Forget the reports. I've got them. Just go." "Take care of yourself," I muttered, a thank you, my voice tight with panic. Grabbing my briefcase, I splashed cold water on my face and headed straight out. I told the front desk I wouldn't be in for the rest of the day, maybe longer. My regular doctor's office was across town and notoriously overbooked, so I opted for a nearby urgent care clinic instead. Within minutes of arriving, I was checked in, poked for samples, and dumped in the waiting area with nothing but anxiety. It felt like forever. But after 30 minutes, a nurse called Ethan Carter. Her tone was curt. She led me to an exam room, without a smile or a glance. "Have a seat," she said sharply. She took my vitals, blood pressure, temperature, the usual, and scribbled things down without saying much. Then she muttered, "Doctor will be in shortly," and exited. A few minutes later, a doctor walked in. Older guy, white coat, folder in hand. He sat down and said flatly, "Mr. Carter, I'm Dr. Bennett. Your results are back." He didn't mince words. "You've tested positive for gonorrhea," he said. My stomach turned. I blinked at him, frozen. "Gonorrhea," I echoed. "Yes. It's a sexually transmitted disease," he said, eyeing me with a look that carried more judgment than sympathy. "I'll prescribe antibiotics," he continued. "Avoid sexual activity for at least 7 days after completing treatment, and, if symptoms persist, follow up with your primary care physician." I sat there, stunned. I'd only ever been with one woman, Vanessa, my wife, my everything. As if reading my mind, Dr. Bennett went on, "Other test results are still pending. It could take a couple of weeks. Meanwhile, we'll need a list of recent intimate contacts." "There's only one," I said quietly. "My wife." He nodded slowly and checked my chart. "She may not show symptoms," he said. "In women, it can be mistaken for something like a bladder or yeast infection. But she needs to be tested immediately. Untreated, it can lead to serious complications." He handed me the medication and a stack of papers to sign. "Take care of yourself, Mr. Carter," he said before leaving. I walked out in a daze. I could barely think. My phone trembled in my hand as I called Mr. Brooks. I gave him the update, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said with genuine concern. "Take all the time you need, Ethan. Your health comes first. Thanks, I whispered. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my parents. My dad answered, "Ethan, everything okay?" "Not really," I said. "I need to come by. I'd like to talk to you and Mom." "Of course, the kid's okay. They're fine. This is about me. Come over. We'll make some coffee and talk," he said calmly. That's how things always started in my family. Coffee first, then crisis management. I pulled into my parents' driveway with a pit in my stomach. My dad opened the front door before I even rang the bell. He gave me a firm hug, the kind that didn't need words. "Coffee just finished," he said with a gentle smile. "Come in." Inside, my mum was already pouring the mugs, one for me, one for Dad. I grabbed a bottle of butter pecan syrup from the counter, like always. That small ritual felt strangely comforting. After we sat down, Dad said, "Let's start with a prayer, of course." That was our way. We prayed together in silence, heads bowed, and for a moment, I didn't feel completely lost. Then the real conversation began. "What's going on, son?" Dad asked softly. I hesitated, then looked him in the eye. "I just came from urgent care. They told me I have gonorrhea." My dad, the calm and collected one, blinked but didn't flinch. "Have you been unfaithful?" he asked gently. "No. Never," I said firmly. "Vanessa is the only woman I've ever been with." He nodded once. "I believe you. Just needed to hear it." Mum looked shaken. "What are you going to do?" I sighed. "I think I have to divorce her. I don't see any other way." "The girls?" she asked quietly. "They're old enough to understand. I can't stay married to someone I can't trust. Even if she says it was a mistake. How do I ever believe her again?" Dad leaned back, arms crossed. "Adultery is clear grounds for divorce. You're not wrong to feel this way." Mum was near tears. "I always thought Vanessa was such a sweet woman." "May, too," I whispered. "She fooled all of us." Dad got up and returned with his old business card holder. He thumbed through it until he landed on one. "Olivia Hayes," he said, holding it up. "Family law attorney, goes to our church. She's sharp and discreet." He called her office and managed to secure a same-day appointment for me at 12:30. After hanging up, he turned back to me. "Bring your financials and tax returns. You'll want everything in order." "Okay," I said quietly, suddenly aware of how real this was becoming. "One more thing," Dad added. "You need to tell Vanessa about the diagnosis. She has to get tested. If she's infected, others might be too." Mum spoke up again. "Maybe the girls should stay with us for a while. Things could get tense at home." "That's probably best," Dad agreed. "Why don't you bring them over after school?" I nodded, already mentally preparing for that conversation. "I should tell you a bit about our history. My sister Megan and I were raised in a deeply religious, tight-knit home. We didn't curse, didn't drink, and definitely didn't sleep around. I waited until marriage. It wasn't just a rule, it was a promise I made to myself. When Vanessa and I were dating, I told her straight up, I want to wait." She smiled, kissed me deeply, and whispered, "That's sweet. I'll make our wedding night worth it." And she did. It was beautiful, patient, loving, honest. She guided me, and I felt lucky to have someone like her. She'd had partners before me, and that never bothered me. I just wanted a committed relationship, and that's what I believed we had. We got married, and soon after, she started working in real estate. She was ambitious, always pushing to be top of her office. About a year in, we welcomed our first daughter, Emily. A year later came Chloe. After Chloe's difficult delivery, Vanessa chose to have her tubes tied. I had always hoped for a son, but honestly, my daughters lit up my world. I wouldn't trade them for anything. When Vanessa went back to work, I stepped into the role of part-time stay-at-home dad. I cooked, cleaned, drove the girls to music and sports, and made sure homework was done, especially when Vanessa stayed late at the office or had weekend retreats. At first, those absences were understandable. The industry was competitive. But over time, something changed. She was gone more. Retreats got longer. Seminars started popping up with no real details. Even the girls noticed. Then there was her personality. She developed this bizarre saleswoman act. Everything became performative. Her voice, her smile, her presence. It was like she was playing a role she didn't know how to turn off. I asked her about it more than once. She brushed it off, saying it was part of the job, but I wasn't convinced. Still, the thought of her cheating, it never even crossed my mind. She knew where I stood on infidelity. I'd made that clear from the start. When I left my parents' house, I drove straight home. I needed to gather 2 years' worth of tax documents before meeting Olivia. While pulling out files, I came across something I hadn't seen before, a folder labeled with a bank I didn't recognize. Inside were statements from an account I had no knowledge of. The most recent balance, just under $1 million, 8 years. That's how long she'd been building this secret fund. And suddenly, everything snapped into place. The separate tax filings she insisted on the weekend. Getaways, the phony smiles. The "I'll be late for dinner" texts. This wasn't random. It was planned. I arrived at Olivia Hayes' office right on time. It was a modest but stylish law firm nestled in a corner building downtown. Inside, the receptionist, a friendly woman with honey blonde hair and a warm smile, welcomed me. "I'm here to see Olivia Hayes." "I have a 12:30 appointment," I said. She tapped a few keys. "Of course, Mr. Carter. Please follow me." She led me into Olivia's office, sleek, professional, not overly flashy. Olivia stood up to greet me, offering a firm handshake and a kind smile. "It's good to finally meet you, Ethan," she said. "Would you like some coffee?" "Yes, please," I said, eager for anything familiar. Olivia turned to the receptionist and asked for 2 cups, and added, "Bring some butter and almonds if we have them." A small detail, but it disarmed me. She had a way of making things feel less like a courtroom and more like a conversation. Once we were settled, she got straight to it. "So," she said gently, "your father mentioned your wife has been unfaithful." "That's right," I said, trying to steady my voice. "And I have medical confirmation that she gave me an STD." Olivia's expression tightened, though she remained composed. "I'm really sorry you're going through this." "Thank you," I replied. "I just want to know my options." "Well," she began, "we're in a no-fault divorce state, meaning you don't need to prove wrongdoing. But if you do have evidence, especially of adultery or hidden finances, it can give you leverage during asset division and custody arrangements." I handed her the folder of secret bank statements. She's been funneling money into this account for years. Nearly $1 million. Olivia scanned the documents quickly. She might argue it's a retirement fund or a college plan for the kids. "You really believe that?" I asked. She raised an eyebrow. "No, but convincing a judge is another." story. We'll need real proof. Would you consider hiring a private investigator? Yes, absolutely. Good. She nodded. Let's start with the basics. Make, model, license plate of her car. Places she frequently visits. I pulled out my phone. She lost her phone a few months ago. I installed a tracker app back then. Let me see. I opened the app and zoomed in. She's at a house on the north side of town right now. Olivia leaned forward. Perfect. I'll pass this too. The investigator, immediately. She picked up the phone, spoke briefly, and gave him the full address and details. Hanging up, she turned back to me, serious now. If something is happening, we'll find it discreetly. Now, let's talk custody. I told her about Emily and Chloe, -14 and 13, close in age, close to me. I'd been the consistent parent, while Vanessa chased her career and disappeared on retreats. Courts tend to favor mothers, Olivia explained, but your situation is unique. If we can show you've been the primary caretaker and that the home is stable, we have a strong case. What about paternity? She asked carefully. I paused. I believe the girls are mine, but honestly, I guess I can't be sure anymore. Olivia nodded. I can refer you to a lab. Discreetly. Okay, let's do it. What about the house? She continued. It's owned by my parents, in a family trust. No mortgage. That simplifies things, she said. We'll still have to divide personal property and accounts, but this gives you a head start. She gave me a checklist of documents and tasks. Before I left, I asked, do you think I should confront her yet? Olivia's eyes narrowed. Not until we know more, but you do need to inform her to get tested, for everyone's safety. Understood, I said. She handed me a card with the DNA lab's contact information and walked me to the door. Ethan, she said before I left, don't do anything rash. You've already been through more than enough. Let's get through this the right way. I'm trying, I said, voice low, and I meant it, but inside, something was simmering. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war, back at home. I gathered what I needed for the paternity tests, the lab forms, cheek swabs, instructions, everything. My daughters would be home soon. I wasn't ready for what I had to do, but it had to be done. Just as I set the test kit on the kitchen table, the front door burst open. Emily and Chloe walked in, backpacks half sliding off their shoulders. Daddy, you're home early, Emily said with surprise. Yeah, Chloe added. What happened? Are you okay? I gave them a tired smile. It's been a day. They sensed it. Kids always do. Listen, I need you both to pack a bag, I said gently. You're going to stay at Grandma and Grandpa's for a few days. Both girls paused, faces shifting. Why? Chloe asked. Is something wrong with Mum? No, I said. Not exactly. We haven't fought. But there's something serious going on that we need time to deal with. Emily narrowed her eyes and tilted her head. You caught her cheating, didn't you? The words hit like a brick. I blinked. Why would you say that? Emily looked down. I've heard her on the phone a few times. She was using that fake voice, the one you hate. It sounded flirty, personal. I didn't know what to think. I didn't want to believe it. Chloe chimed in, her voice barely above a whisper. She's been different lately, like really distant. She doesn't talk to us much anymore. I stood silent for a second, watching them. They weren't kids anymore. They were paying attention, feeling the shifts, noticing the cracks. I pulled them both into a hug. You can always talk to me about anything. I'm here. Then, gently, I held up the test kit. I need to do something, for legal reasons. What's that? Chloe asked, eyeing the swabs. It's a cheek swab, I explained. We're doing a paternity test. My lawyer thinks it's a good idea, just to confirm everything officially. Emily's face fell. You don't think we're really your kids? I shook my head. No. I know you're mine, but it's something we have to do, to protect everyone, legally. The girls nodded reluctantly. One by one, I swabbed Emily. Then Chloe. I did my own last and packed everything into the kit. You both should go upstairs and pack now, I said softly. We're leaving in about 15 minutes. Okay, Emily whispered. They started walking away, but then turned back. If you do get divorced, can we live with you? She asked. Yeah, Chloe added. We want to stay with you. My chest tightened. I'm going to ask for custody. But you should know, courts often favor the mother. It might not be that simple. Emily crossed her arms. I don't want to live with her. Not right now. I'm mad. I understand, I said, struggling to keep my voice from breaking. But no matter what happens, I love you both. That will never change. I love you too, Dad, Emily said, eyes misting. Chloe nodded in agreement. Their words gave me strength, and they reminded me why I was doing all of this, not just for myself, but for them. With the DNA test kit sealed and packed, I dropped the girls off at my parents' house. Mum greeted them with warm hugs and their favorite snacks. Dad gave me a knowing nod. He didn't say much. He didn't need to. After I said goodbye to the girls, I headed straight for the lab to deliver the samples. The receptionist assured me the results would be ready by the end of the week. Thanks, I said, trying to sound normal. Inside, I felt like I was crumbling. Driving home, I realized there was one person I hadn't spoken to, someone who might actually have insight into Vanessa's past. Rachel, her sister. I connected my phone to the car's Bluetooth and dialed. Hey. Greg, she answered cheerfully. How's my favorite brother-in-law? I've had better days, I said honestly. Do you have a few minutes to talk? Of course. What's going on? I kept it brief. Not every ugly detail. Just enough for her to understand the weight of what was happening. She was silent for a moment. Oh my God, she finally said. Greg, I hate to say this, but it sounds like she's slipped back into old patterns. What do you mean? I asked, my pulse quickening. Rachel sighed. Vanessa was wild back in the day. High school, college, she went through relationships like outfits. I thought she changed when she met you. She said she had. She said she found her soulmate. I ran a hand through my hair. You never thought to tell me this before. Didn't think it mattered. She seemed truly different with you. Settled, happy. I breathed through the surge of emotion. Thanks for telling me now, at least. She needs somewhere to stay after this, right? Rachel asked carefully. I was going to ask, I said, if she could stay with you, just for a while. Rachel paused. She can, for a few days. But Frank's not going to be thrilled. I understand. I'll only ask you to do this short term, until I can arrange something else. Okay, she agreed. Call me when she's on her way. I will, and Rachel, thank you. No matter what she's done, Greg, I know your heart was in the right place. You deserved better. That night, I barely touched dinner. I reheated leftover meatloaf and stared at the plate while my mind spun like a broken carousel. Just as I was finishing, my phone rang. Olivia, still working late? I asked, half joking. For you, always, she said. We've received preliminary findings from the private investigator. I sat up, and she's been busy. She's met with 3 different men today, alone. I froze. 3 in one day. Yes, I'm sending you the details. Photos, video, audio. I'd advise against watching the whole video, but you should listen to the final few minutes of the audio. It's revealing. I swallowed. Do we have enough to proceed? Absolutely, she said. But listen to that audio first, then call me. Okay, thanks, Olivia. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and found the report in my email inbox. I skipped to the section Olivia had flagged, the final few minutes of the audio recording. The conversation was between Vanessa and one of the men. It was like peeling the skin off my own soul. You're married, he said, clearly referencing her rings. For now, she laughed. Your husband doesn't know. No, he has no idea. Is he good to you? He's a saint. I taught him everything. He was a virgin when we got married. Religious, boring, doesn't drink, doesn't curse, wouldn't cheat if his life depended on it. So why stay? He's good with the kids, stable, reliable, but he's dull. I'll leave once they're in college. Maybe Costa Rica, maybe a cruise. Who knows? Do you even know if they're his? Honestly, I don't care. He thinks they are. That's enough. The recording ended with her laughing, calling me clueless. My hands trembled on the keyboard. My eyes blurred. I wanted to scream, but the pain came out in silence. My chest felt like it was being crushed under a weight I couldn't throw off. 15 years, for what? I dialed Olivia. I listened to the audio, I said quietly, and she asked. I'm ready, I said. Burn it to the ground. Asterisk, I printed the photos, 4 of them, all from the investigator's report. Vanessa in compromising situations with men who weren't me. All of them taken in daylight. None of them deniable. I slid the pictures into a folder and placed it neatly on the kitchen table. On the front, I wrote one word, Vanessa, as I sipped a fresh cup of coffee. I rehearsed a confrontation in my head. She texted around 6:15. Long showing. Don't wait for dinner, I replied simply. No problem. See you when you get home. I didn't add I love you, not this time. And I wondered if she'd notice. I waited. An hour passed. Then to dot at 9:45, I called her phone voicemail. I texted again, you okay? No response. The waiting turned to dread. Then, at nearly midnight, the phone rang. Greg Carter, said a voice. Yes, I answered. This is Angela Barnes, from Mercy Hospital. Are you related to Vanessa Carter? She's my wife, I replied, my stomach sinking. There's been an accident. She's here in ICU. Can you come in as soon as possible? Yes, I said instantly. I'm on my way. I drove through near-empty streets, headlights bouncing off the signs as I whispered silent prayers. Not knowing whether to hope or scream at the hospital's courtesy desk, I gave my name. A nurse escorted me to the ICU. A police officer met me at the entrance. Mr. Carter, I'm Officer Simmons. Your wife was hit by a drunk driver who ran a red light. She was struck on the driver's side. My knees went weak. She's alive, he continued, but she's in critical condition. The car's totaled. He handed me a business card. This is the towing company. Call them if you need anything. Thank you, I murmured, barely processing his words. A doctor in a white coat approached. "Mr. Carter, I'm Dr. Lawson. I'm overseeing Vanessa's care. How is she?" "She has multiple fractures, internal bleeding, and a severe head injury. She's currently in a medically induced coma." I swallowed hard. "How long will she be out?" "Could be 10 days, could be 2 weeks. We'll monitor closely." "There's something else," he added, more delicately now. "Initial labs suggest she may be HIV positive. We're running confirmatory tests." I didn't flinch. "I was diagnosed with gonorrhea this morning," I said flatly. He nodded. "Please follow up with your doctor to get tested for HIV as well." I nodded again. "Can I see her?" "Yes, she's in room 5. She's stable." For now. The sight of her took the breath out of me. Bandages, cuts, bruises, a cast that stretched from her foot to her hip. Tubes, machines, beeping monitors. I said nothing. I just stood there for a while. Then I reached into my pocket, pulled out my wedding ring, and dropped it into the envelope with the photos. I turned to the nurse in the room. "Can you make sure she gets this when she wakes up?" "Of course," she said gently. I placed the envelope on the tray beside her bed, just within reach. Then I walked over and, with shaking fingers, slid her wedding ring off her hand. "Goodbye, Vanessa," I whispered. "I'll see you later." I left the room with tears burning behind my eyes. In the car, I called Rachel. "She's in the ICU." I told her. Coma, multiple injuries. Rachel was stunned. "Greg, wow, is she going to be okay?" "She might be," I said, "but I can't let her stay with you now. The hospital believes she may be HIV positive." There was a pause. "Greg, I can't risk her being near my family. Not with the kids, I understand. I'll find her somewhere else." "She made her choices," Rachel said sadly. "I'll help you move her stuff, but after that, I'm stepping back." "Thanks, that's all I need." We hung up at home. I collapsed onto the couch. My whole body was sore from stress and silence. Sleep took me like a wave crashing down. 2 days after the accident, I got a call from the hospital. "Mr. Carter, your wife is awake," the nurse said. I exhaled. "Thank you." That afternoon, I dropped the girls at my parents' house and drove to the hospital, not for closure, but for delivery. At her bedside, Vanessa looked weak, stitched and bandaged, her eyes swollen with confusion and pain. She tried to smile. "Hi," she croaked. I nodded. "Glad you're awake." Before she could say more, a man in a black suit stepped into the room. "You are being served with divorce papers," he announced professionally, handing her the envelope. Vanessa stared at it in disbelief. "You couldn't wait," she whispered. "You were already planning your exit," I replied coldly. "I'm just helping you get there sooner." Her hand trembled as she read the top page. "I see," she murmured. "I'm seeking full custody. The girls don't want to see you right now, but visitation can be arranged if they change their minds." She blinked rapidly. "So you hate me?" "No," I said. "Hate is effort. I'm just done." She swallowed. "Can I at least talk to them? They'll decide, not me." I turned to leave. "Greg," she called. "I'm sorry. I do love you." I didn't answer. Back home, I received the DNA results. Both girls, Emily and Chloe, were mine, no doubts, no questions. It was the only piece of relief I'd felt in days. Olivia finalized the paperwork within a week. She also froze Vanessa's secret bank account. Half was legally mine. Instead of celebrating, I opened college funds for both daughters and deposited it all there. Vanessa moved into a small two-bedroom apartment near the hospital. Rachel helped with the transfer, but once the boxes were unpacked, she walked out and didn't look back. "I'm done with her too," Rachel told me. She fooled all of us. The girls adjusted surprisingly well. They were angry, but they were healing. They loved school, their friends, and the growing sense of calm that settled over our new home. A few months later, the hospital confirmed. Both Vanessa and I tested negative for HIV. That news, oddly, felt like the final string snapping. No more unknowns, just forward. A year passed. One Wednesday at church, I ran into Rhonda Carson, a kind widow raising a teenage daughter of her own. She had sent me a casserole a few weeks earlier and smiled when I thanked her. We talked, then we had coffee, then we had dinner. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't dramatic. It was real, warm, gentle, honest. Some stories don't end with revenge, or fire, or confrontation. Some just end with peace, with the pain carved into your soul like rings in an old tree, and with new roots taking hold, quietly, firmly beneath your feet. I didn't burn her life down. I rebuilt mine.